Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. I'm going to work on a Shimano FX200 today. This is probably one of the more common reels you're going to see in the ponds, on the piers, and just around the general fishing holes. It's a relatively inexpensive reel. It's made by Shimano. It features the quick fire release for casting, and well, graphite casing. Nice reel overall, not that expensive, and that's probably why you're going to find them where you do. It's a value proposition. It's hard to beat. This one, well, this one came in. It's got a bent handle on it, which makes it difficult to turn. Fortunately, quite some time ago, I purchased a box of repair parts from somebody, and well, it had a lot of these handles in it. So instead of trying to rebend this handle, you can see how it's not angular. I'm just going to go ahead and try to replace that. I'll show you how to service the reel, and it's sluggish. We'll guess that it just never been serviced in its existence, and well, we'll try to get this one out there fishing again. I'm going to start by taking off this rear drag cap. You remove the screw, and then you can unscrew the cap. Bring that all the way down. And then I'm going to take my pieces and parts as I do this and put them into a parts tray. I use a simple fast food container for my parts tray. Sometimes I use a old milk jug or something, and other times, well, it's the parts tray. It looks like we're missing there's usually a metal clip here. I would say somebody kind of lost that clip along the way. We have a couple of things in the drag washer. We have our little compression point, and we have our washer that's going to press up against the drag washer that's in here. And well, I did that. I removed that because I'm never quite sure whether this cover is part of that assembly or not. In this case, it's not. All right, there's 4 screws that we're going to take off next. That's going to hold the main body of the reel. So the little clip below is a noise maker. It's not needed in order to have the drag function. It's just got a little bump out on it that runs in the ridges of the cap most of the time. I'm not sure if that's the way this one works or not. It's been a while since I've worked on one of these. And again, usually most of the time these reels unfortunately get tossed because the price to service it and the like just is more than the reel cost. These are only selling for maybe $20. It's not that expensive, but it is a very nice reel that, when properly maintained, can last a lifetime. All right, one more of these. I'll open up the case. We'll see what's causing it to be so sluggish. When I take the screws off, I put them into a corner of my parts tray and I compare them, making sure that they're all the same size. If you find when you're taking off parts of a reel that one of them is longer or shorter or wider or whatever, then chances are that you may mess it up on the way back in if you don't pay attention. So note where that is, and you won't have any trouble on reassembling. Okay, here's the rest of our drag stock coming out now. These drag washers look fine. I don't think I've ever seen one of these where the drag washers have been beaten up too much because, well, it's for smaller reels. You can see on this drag set we have quite a few drag washers in here. Get them off now with this glove. Here you go. Metal one. And this has a setup that's very similar to the setups you see on some conventional reels. We have a drag washer. There's a metal washer. These are actually stuck together. Use that razor knife again to just unstick them. So we have 2 what I'll call eared washers, and one that's a keyed washer. The 2 eared washers are going to sit in that cap assembly. And you just want to check it. You have another washer up top here. And it orders itself by a drag washer first, One of the eared washers points down. Another drag washer. The keyed washer in this case goes in the middle. Another drag washer, another eared washer, and we'll put that back into the case before we tighten this up. All right, let's take the spool off. That comes off by depressing the center button. We want to rotate the reel so that we can bring the tie down for this to the low position. This reel I don't think has any ball bearings in it. Again, it's a sign of cost efficiency, if you will, or the design behind it. That's a little minor cause for the sluggishness, but we're just seeing it's a dry reel that hasn't been maintained, and that's primarily the issue here. All right. There's a gate that comes off when you remove the retaining screw and the crosswind block. Now you can pull up on the axle shaft and remove that. With the axle shaft removed, you can remove the main gear. Under the main gear is our crosswind block and gear. And I'm going to take a moment here to just spray this down now. It's got old solidified grease. That's just telling us that's the cause of the issue that we have here. And this reel has a clip underneath. There is no rotor nut or anything. It's a clip that holds it on, and underneath that clip you have this little washer here with a stud on it. That is going to ensure that your reel always comes back to that one set. So it's a single anti-reverse lock, and we'll show you if we get it wrong in putting it back how to get it right. But it's a one-stop anti-reverse. All right. While I have this off, I'm going to spray the inner trip lever. That's the one when you open up your bail, the trip lever comes out and it will fire the bail. And because this hasn't had a lot of love and attention to it, we're going to put some oil into the seam on the one. And we're going to flip it a few times just to make sure that it all flips nice and easily. That's all you need to do on that bail service. I'm going to wipe down the old grease inside the case. And there's some sticking points in here it's lodged into. There's no doubt in my mind that that's a good cause for the sluggish performance. And then up top here is that traditional anti-reverse dog. It's operated off the back end here. When you have it in the off position, it's going to swing in and out. That's going to lock it into the ridge up top here. There's a big ridge here that will stop it. And well, when you open it up, it will override that. You will not have that feature. All right, we just have a little bit more cleaning to do here. And while I do that, I want to encourage you to ask questions. If you're working on a reel, any reel, doesn't have to be this one. Maybe you're thinking about working on a reel and you have some questions about the reel. Maybe you're wondering if it's a project that you can tackle, if I've worked on one of them, if there's a video in the library, all those kinds of things. Just leave that question in this comment section, and I will try and answer that for you. Okay, I'm trying to get this bushing off. So we have bushing reel here. Again, this is the lower end of the reel set, but that doesn't mean that because it's inexpensive it isn't a good reel. There's two studs on this now, and there's corresponding indents in the case. You need to take the bushing and align it so that the studs go into the case and the bushing lays flat against the back. Sometimes you're going to have trouble opening up the case and getting it to close after you do because those studs are not there. This might be a better example. You don't have to look past anything. There's a slot here and a slot here. On this, there's a stud, and notice they're offset. They're on the top. That top side faces you when you go to install this. Now that is not installed properly, and you can see there's a raised pillar here, and you will not get your reel case to close. You need to rotate that into the hole. Now you're flush, and that's the way it's going to work. All right, let's take our rotor. And as you can see, there's not a lot to the service of this reel. It is something you can do yourself, and it's something you can do to ensure that this reel is going to fish on and on and on. Now, if you have a reel like this, you've been fishing it some time, and you're getting a side-to-side wobble in the rotor, that's because the clip that holds the rotor in is getting worn in that track there. Nothing you can really do short of replacing that clip. Okay, like those side plate bushings, we have a bushing up top here. I would say that you can't replace this with a bearing, and the reason I would say that is that stud, well, maybe you could, I don't know, if you wanted to try to hot rod this. There's the hole for that stud here. Make sure that this goes in. If you don't have that flush, you're not going to mount your rotor correctly. Let's put the rotor in. Okay, once your rotor is mounted, give it a spin, make sure that it's working okay, which it is. I've gone ahead and cleaned the main gear. I'm going to make sure that gets greased up now. Please use fishing wheel grease on your reels. Don't use common household or automotive greases, much as you may be tempted to. Fishing wheel grease is not expensive, and well, it's designed for fishing reels. All right, that's done. Do the same thing. Make sure that the teeth on your oscillation gear is clean, and go ahead and grease that up. I'm going to put that right in the case rather than laying that down. When you put your oscillation gear in, bring the point on the oscillation gear to the base. Same thing here. Make sure that the back of your oscillation slide is clear, and that's the only part that needs grease here. Now, one of the things I didn't tell you, but should have mentioned earlier, is take pictures along the way as reference points. That way, when it's time to reassemble, you can do what I'm doing here and kind of know where those points are. All right, the main gear has been worked. Our oscillation gear is in. Our oscillation slide is in. Put our main gear in now. Snap the main gear into place, and now we can clean off our axle shaft and bring that down. A little bit of grease onto the axle shaft. Don't go heavy because it'll only get scraped off. Bring your axle shaft through the top, flat side facing you. So the flat side is facing you. Square up your oscillation or crosswind block. Find the two holes. And then we can mount the tie-down clip. Bring that over. And go to your parts tray and get the screw that's holding that in. I'm going to use my screw starter for this because if I drop it in the case, it becomes a little bit of a problem. And then we can finish that with a screwdriver. Make sure it's tight, you don't want to lose that. And then this is how the oscillation system will work then. It'll turn and it'll bring your axle shaft up and down. I want to bring it down so that I can reset the drag stack. I've loaded the drag stack up. I'm going to take this last one off here. There's two slots in this case. I can see them. You're going to have a hard time seeing them, but the two that empty out here, that's where you want to aim these little tags for. Bring that whole assembly in. And then if you don't have the axle shaft coming through like I do, what you want to do is you want to make sure that you turn the rotor so that it meshes in there. Last one of the geared washers goes in. Now we can bring that washer carrier. I'm just going to set this in at this point. I know the case is independent of this, but I'm not going to tighten this down until I put that case on. All right. Make sure that your bushing is flush to your case. A little bit of oil onto this piece here. Flip that over. Mount that. Go to your parts tray and get the 4 screws. Then all we have to deal with is that broken handle, which I have a replacement for. So the interesting thing is, this fellow approached me, it has to be 10 years ago now, maybe. We were at a fisherman's flea market. He was trying to sell Shimano parts, and at the end of the show he hadn't had any success selling this box of parts for the FX reels. And I think there is where we came to the conclusion that the reels are so inexpensive. Why were you going to pay $10 for a handle when you could buy the reel for $19? But somehow he had made an investment in this box of parts, and he had asked me for something that was not unreasonable. So I bought the box, and I've got my money back. How's that? Even if it's something like this, where you know, the reel by itself probably could have continued to fish, but well, we took our time and got the parts. Before I put anything else on here, I did want to take a moment to wipe this down. I transferred some grease from the glove I'm wearing on there, so I'll go ahead and do that. I want to check that anti-reverse. There we are, we're working and we're back to where we should be. Now I can tighten up the drag adjuster. Grab our spool. Now these spools don't have much drag in them at all. There's no drag below. How do you get to the drag? This actually unscrews. I'm not going to unscrew it here, but you can see you can grab this with the ridges, unscrew it, and you'll find, I believe it's a Teflon washer in there. It's a low weight reel, and well, chances are you will never have to service that drag wire. Okay, we'll just grab a handle out of here. So this is the way the handle should look, as opposed to the way it does look. All right, that's it. Let's go ahead and grab the new replacement handle. Make sure it's the right one. It is. The shaft comes to where it should. You go ahead and put that handle on now. All right, test your drag, make sure it's holding. It is. Handle's nice and square. You got that click, click, click now for the anti-reverse. Take the anti-reverse off, and you don't have that click anymore. Works nice and smooth and free and easy. You want to try your casting. The bail turns nice and easy. This reel's ready to go fishing again. Again, you can backpedal this reel if you want. This is the on position. That's the click, click, click. And it will return to fire for the next shot. Okay, I hope you've enjoyed that. It's always fun working on some of these reels, and it's my pleasure to do so, to try and show you how to do it yourself. I want to take a minute to thank our first responders, our police, fire, safety, and rescue, and all who are involved in keeping us out of harm's way. I want to thank everybody for watching, for being part of this channel, and for making it what it is. I want to wish everybody a great time fishing, regardless of where it is. Make friends, have fun fishing, and well, catch the fish of a lifetime. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Have a great day.